Tesla's auto business has been suffering lately due to diminishing margins. We've seen the stock tank. We all know this. But is it possible that Tesla, because this is their main business, the auto business, that investors are actually overlooking how strong a position they have as we head into a future of AI? Robots that move through the real world, that fill the labor shortage. That's what Tesla has. Now, today we're going to look at clips from AutoLine. Think about those clips in the context of some research on AI from ARK Invest, and think about the decisions that Tesla has made, the strategies they've deployed over the last 12 months. Think about whether they were the right decision, the wrong decision, because Wall Street seems unhappy with their decisions. But anyways, let's get into it.
With autonomy, I mean, even if you're 99.999%,
You're not good.
you're killing thousands of people.
Right.
Right. So
Here's
it's got to be
right. I know,
and
but
to get
see,
those really corner cases takes a long time. And
this is where I think
that's
the
not the
industry's
money.
got to come clean with the public and say, look, autonomous cars are never going to be perfect. They are going to get in accidents, and people are going to get killed in those accidents. But they're going to get in far fewer accidents.
Right.
And we could save 30,000 people a year just in the US alone. We could prevent 2 million people from going to the hospital. So to me, waiting for perfection is
There's
a mistake.
There's a difference between perfection and something that, I mean, I'm sorry. They keep using aircraft as an example. It's a horrible example. Aircraft, when they're operating in a fully autonomous mode, are operating in a two-dimensional environment that has a control system that deliberately keeps them spaced apart. Now, if we're going to have autonomy, the thing that scared me the most of autonomy was the time in which it's the interregnum before the non-autonomous vehicles are gone.
Yeah, this seems to be scaring a lot of people for whatever reason. But what I have found is most of the people who are threatened by FSD or scared of FSD or whatever, most of those people have something to lose from FSD succeeding. But let's say you're unbiased and you do actually find it scary to share the road with these robot cars that Tesla is deploying. Well, to you, I would say that's a warranted fear in the past, because in the past, Tesla was using hundreds of thousands of lines of code to tell the cars how to drive. And to be honest, that method just couldn't satisfy all of the possible variables that can happen on the road. So sometimes the car wouldn't know what to do or would do something unpredictable. And so to that, I would say your fear was warranted. But now Tesla, as you all know, has completely revamped the architecture. And now they are training the cars on high quality premier video clips of humans driving. And we're seeing the vehicle become more human-like, so it doesn't even feel like you're sharing the road with a robot car anymore. I mean, look how human-like it's gotten. Okay, so you got a Tesla FSD V12 making a left turn in an intersection, and as you can see, it is just clogged all the way backed up. FSD V12 pulls to a safe location just like a human would. This guy makes sure he's not getting in, cuts him off, waits patiently. Tesla gets in, but nope, it's not going left, it's going straight. So it does a quick lane change and you're on your way. It's just how I would have handled it. Here, it's a 40 speed limit and they're going about 30. So Tesla FSD goes to pass and finds itself in a merge lane. So it just goes right back in. Just a goofy little mistake that I would have made myself, me being a human being. Now, Tesla FSD V12 on aggressive mode. This is exactly, again, what I would do. I know I can make a squeeze, so I do it. If I was sitting in a car with an FSD subscription and it made this move, I would never go back. This is just how I would drive, but I don't have to drive.
Who is going to go out and buy a vehicle that's not going to make their family safe?
Nobody.
Right?
No.
So I mean, when you're trying to make a buying decision, that's got to be one of the factors you weigh, literally, when you're trying to make a decision about
So
what
in
to
this whole
buy.
discussion of affordability,
Yeah.
small cars are not the answer, is what I'm getting from this conversation.
Here's the thing: you have to have a compelling reason that borders on an obsession for why you want to buy a car that's right now very small or very large, whatever it is. For cars that are playing in these weird edges, there has to be an obsessive reason to buy it. The truth is, this served Mini for a while. It did. People just wanted a Mini. And
Because it was a
As a
compelling
statement,
car.
Well, that was a fun to drive car, to John's
Right,
point, right?
yeah.
It had like a go-kart.
it did, and there are a lot of people that never knew that.
Well, as you probably know, Tesla is coming out with their compact car, $25,000, that is expected to be smaller. How do you make a smaller, cheaper car that's affordable, compelling? Autonomy. If you can get a $25,000 car that has the ability to drive you around, that vehicle will dominate the market. I mean, Apple just canceled the Apple Car after spending $10 billion on the development. Making a compelling, affordable car is harder than people think. I mean, look at this chart showing Tesla's production cost over time. You have to just chop away at it slowly. That's the Japanese way, Toyota's success. They call it Kaizen. But with the next gen vehicle, Tesla is starting from scratch with a whole new production line, kind of like how they started over with V12 infrastructure. One step back to go 2 steps forward. And with that production cost coming down for Tesla, so is their average selling price, which is also at a record low. Tesla's main competitors is not some EV company, it's the whole ICE industry at this point. To keep EV adoption going, you have to beat out ICE vehicles on a lot of metrics. And I think FSD is the most compelling reason to convert to an EV. Check out this clip of 3 deer running out onto the road. So it pulls up, there's a deer, there's its friends, and watch the visualization. You can actually see deer on the visualization. FSD's gotten to the point where it recognizes it, but now they stack on each other and the visualization gets confused. It thinks it's humans. Now it's a car, now it's a bicyclist if you're watching the visualization. But as long as it recognizes something, it's not going to hit it. So when they stack, it got a little confused, but it did recognize that it was deer when they were just by themselves. There's also rumors of this car being made in a single piece casting, which would just make the vehicle incredibly strong. And this vehicle is going to be made in Texas.
If we want to build more stuff in this country, we have to create more electricity. This is not even talking about electric vehicles, putting it in the equation. We have to. There's no way around it. And that's true for any other country. If you're going to start to ramp up what you build, you have to have the power to build the parts. You also need, and this is where it's going to get really ugly, and I'll get off this quickly, is a population the right age to do it. And that's the one that's the 12-ton gorilla in the room. Because there are countries in Europe where the median age is so high now, and there is no one to backfill for jobs. There is no one to contribute to the economy for the retirees, or there is, but it's at a reduced rate. This is a giant issue, which is going to put more demand on making affordable vehicles.
Of the top 20 countries in the world with the highest median age, 16 of those countries are in Europe, with the median age of people in Monaco aged 55 years old. So what happens when those people hit retirement in 10 years? Well, the working population collapses. And in the US, the median age just hit a record high at 38.9 years. It has increased by 3.5 years since 2000. People aren't having as many kids, myself included, and now a labor shortage is coming. So what's the solution? Tesla says it's humanoid robots. Tesla is advancing these things extremely quickly, making improvements extremely fast, and yet investors don't seem excited about it on Wall Street. They have to understand that a labor shortage is coming. This seems like the only solution. And you want to talk about transportation? How can we make cars affordable and compelling? Customers don't seem to want to buy them right now. Well, what if we just increase the utility of a car by 5 times by removing the driver? Tesla has a solution for that too. It's just logical. These are the logical solutions to these problems. Tesla is solving them. People like us are excited about it, but right now they're not making any money, so we get called crazy, but that can turn really fast. And that's how you beat the market in this world. Tesla is doing what needs to be done for society, even if it's taking longer than promised, and eventually the money is going to catch up to when value is created for society.
I think generative AI is going to make a big difference. Generative AI is probably going to make as big a difference in the auto industry as computer-aided design did, right? Going from drafting tables to designing on the tube, and it's probably as big as the internet, as big as those two things combined. Okay, I know suppliers today who are using generative AI to do quotes. So it used to be an OEM puts out a request for quote, and a sales guy will spend 3 days putting together a quote.
A mountain of paperwork.
Sharpen your pencil.
And then he goes to his boss, and there's a bunch of stuff wrong, and he goes back and forth. And 3 weeks later, they come up with this quote. Well, now generative AI, you can point to the last 300 quotes you've done that went out the door, and say, do a quote for company X at this volume for this part, given, and it'll be made in this plant. And generative AI will take everything that's been taken into account in the past and do that quote, and it'll be 99% right in 10 seconds.
And here's another great example of generative AI causing huge disruption.
For the past century, the cost of authoring written content has hovered around $300 to $400 per 1,000 words. That is, the cost you would pay someone to write a 1,000-word article has been around $300 to $400 for the last 100 years. By contrast, GPT-4 can produce analytic writing at the median GRE level quality for about 16 cents per 1,000 words. And this trend is continuing downward.
So those are some examples of language-based models producing insanely efficient results that are dropping the cost of language-based tasks dramatically. But now let's look at how fast the cost to train AI models is dropping so we can understand that inevitably the disruption will find its ways to other industries like transportation and labor that include video-based training models.
And zooming out from the picture of the advances we've seen just over the last year, ARC likes to model cost declines against Wright's law, which compared to Moore's law is not a function of time, Moore's law saying costs fall in half roughly every 2 years, but a function of units, saying that costs decline at a constant rate for every cumulative doubling of units produced. And AI, right now, all the investment we're seeing in the space, we're rapidly seeing more and more cumulative doublings. And so as you can imagine, costs are falling very quickly. So we've used Wright's law to model cost declines on artificial intelligence training in particular at 75% per year.
So as the cost to train AI models continues to drop, what's going to become the most valuable asset in this AI future is actually going to be the data. It's also going to be the most expensive. So let's quickly watch another clip from this guy to help us understand why Tesla is in such a good position.
Even beyond spoken words, models are increasingly multimodal, meaning they're able to take multiple forms of input, for example, both text and image and video and audio, and then generate those different types of mediums as output as well. And when you start thinking about robotics use cases in particular, which require a strong sense of perception of the physical world and an understanding of physics, we think this could be a really important set of training data in the future, something that a company like Tesla is very over-indexed on relative to their competitors. So we think there's a lot of room to run in terms of using more diverse forms of training data to improve model performance. The key will be researchers understanding the best way to use that data and have it efficiently impact the model performance.
And that's exactly what Tesla has done with the new V12 architecture. They thought of the best way to use their data to get the best performance. And right now, Tesla is compute constrained, meaning they can only use a fraction of the data that they actually possess. So as the cost to train AI models continues to drop, and Tesla gets their hands on more and more compute, they will be able to input more and more data into their model, and FSD will continue to improve. It's the same story with humanoid robots. As long as Tesla feeds their models with high quality data, their robots are going to become more and more human-like over time. And in these early stages, it's almost as if Tesla's robots are like a fetus. It's very hard for a fetus or even a baby to generate money, and so Wall Street is not very excited about it. But with AI being a never-before-seen technology, Tesla's robots could mature into productive entities that can perform labor and move through the world faster than anyone expects. And while everyone is moaning and groaning about the fledgling auto business, Tesla may be creating some of the most productive products of all time.